House of the Dragon Episode 5 Ending Explained. With Episode 5 of the show recently being released, it focused on the organised chaos that was brewing and erupting in Westeros, as it was becoming clear that the king was getting weaker, as Laenor was being set to marry Rahenyra to unite the two great houses of Old Valyria. However, the episode finished in a way that could mark the beginning of the end of the 70 years of peace that we were informed about when this series began. So with that, I thought I'd recap, break down, and explain all that there was to take away from the episode. So let's get into it. Here is House of the Dragon Episode 5 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Episode 5 first opened up with us seeing Lady Rhea Royce being approached by her husband Daemon Targaryen, where we saw that their marriage was somewhat not of a traditional standard. He'd not consummated the marriage and clearly didn't care for her, so much so that he pushed her off of her horse where she laid paralysed on the floor, and he then finished her off with a rock, making it look as though it was a hunting accident that had gone wrong. As he had no children or heirs with Lady Rhea, he was set to inherit Runestone, so it was a way of making him a small fortune within a quick amount of time, whilst also freeing up his name so that he'd be able to marry Princess Rahenyra Targaryen, and eventually be sat on the Iron Throne alongside her. At least that was his plan, tying back to the passing of him as heir in episode 1 of the show. Outside of this, we saw the king and Rahenyra head towards Driftmark to propose the marriage of the two houses by wedding both Rahenyra and Laenor. This was following on from the end of episode 4, where it was set to put the rumours to bed about the princess participating in intimate activities with her uncle. We saw here that the king's leprosy was getting worse, and slowly as the episode went on it deteriorated. What was masked as seasickness was actually his body fighting a losing battle with the disease that had now taken over his whole body. The king hadn't seen Corlys and Rhaenys in a couple of years, and we saw the shock that they had when he was coughing, and his cousin saw that he was disguising the fact that he was missing some fingers. Even though we've seen throughout the entirety of the show so far that Rahenyra wants to be above duty and tradition of her one-day role as the queen, this marriage that she would be embarking onto would be one that meant that she could still do as she pleases. This is due to the fact that Laenor Velaryon prefers the company of men to women, so this would purely be in place to please the people and the realm, when in actual fact they would be able to partake in intimate relations with whoever they pleased in their own privacy. This would be Sir Joffrey Lonmouth for Laenor, and Ser Criston Cole for Rahenyra. This was something that Ser Criston Cole did not agree with. He didn't want to be her dirty little secret. He swore to a life of chastity when he took up his role as protector of the princess, and he broke it, which you could see was causing him distress and making him feel as though he lost his identity. It explained his reluctancy to partake in the actions in episode 4. He wanted the princess to give up her life as heir and to go and live nameless in Essos with him, so that they could be together, and it would also repair the mental estate of Ser Criston. However, we saw how much being heir to the throne meant to Rahenyra, and she declined his offer. Rahenyra wants nothing more than to sit on the Iron Throne, and despite it feeling as though it's often made out that she doesn't care for the status, it's the very thing that she values most in the world. Alicent was also battling a mental battle throughout the episode. We saw that she took the side of Rahenyra in episode 4, where she swore on her mother's life that she didn't partake in intimate relations with her uncle, which was an outright lie. And we saw Otto Hightower get removed as Hand of the King, with this decision being made. Alicent not standing by her father, and then finding out by Ser Criston Cole that they spent the night together, and hearing that the princess had a tea which removed any chance of her carrying, showed that she made the wrong decision in standing by her. From here, I believe we're going to see a change in the character. The episode was titled We Light the Way, which are the words of House Hightower, which is Alicent's. And with her walking into the celebrations in a green dress, the colour the Hightowers wear when they declare an act of war, and it also standing for the colour that represents Aegon in the Civil War versus the Blacks, which Lord Corlys Velaryon was wearing, it shows that she's no longer going to be holding back and will seek to put Aegon as heir to the Iron Throne. Not only because of the words of her father, but also because of her own belief. I've never really been a fan of Otto as an individual, but the more I'm seeing him, the more I'm realising he was actually doing what he was doing to keep peace amongst the kingdom. War is set to follow if Rahenyra takes the throne, and Alicent's children will be sent out to battle, so despite it being an orchestrated plan from episode 1, I can understand the intentions behind it. As the celebration for the wedding began, we saw many of the houses come together for the feast. This was where we saw all hell eventually break loose and the king's lack of control and everything unraveling in front of him occur. Moments before the feast, we saw a conversation by him that was focused on how he will be remembered once he dies, and that he felt as though he was never truly tested as king. But I feel he has been tested in a different way when compared to most. Him naming Rahenyra as heir and standing by her despite the backlash and controversy with it going against tradition, the conflict that was constantly arising with his brother Daemon, the scheming by Otto Hightower, and the way in which he managed to always keep the peace was something that he did have to undergo. During the feast, we saw that Sir Joffrey Lonmouth found out about Ser Criston Cole and Rhaenyra's night together, and went over to him and made a somewhat passive-aggressive remark about being aware of his secret, and this was to be the very thing that caused the celebrations to be ruined later on. In the novel, Ser Criston Cole beat Sir Joffrey in a jousting tournament, which left him injured and he eventually died. However, in this instance, we saw Criston taking out all of his anger and pent-up rage about the breaking of his chastity, Rhaenyra choosing to be with Laenor not out of love when he has true feelings for her, and also the passive aggression out on Sir Joffrey, when he quite literally destroyed his face in front of everybody, so much so that he walked out and was prepared to take himself, only before Alicent walked out and stopped him from doing it. They will most likely look to form an alliance in the coming episodes due to the personal hurt that Rhaenyra has caused the both of them. Ser Criston was a member of the Greens during the Civil War, so I'm presuming this is where the alliance and decision of the side being taken is going to form. We also saw Daemon stating how he wanted to marry Rhaenyra and that he basically did what he did to his wife so that they had the chance of being able to wed. So their alliance is something that's likely going to be formed moving forward. Although I don't think they will be wed as long as Laenor is alive, especially with it looking as though Daemon's made a connection and expressed his interest in Corlys's other child, Laenor Velaryon. The final thing that we saw in the episode was Laenor and Rhaenyra getting married in the hall where the feast had just taken place with all of the food and Sir Joffrey's blood still on the floor, showing the now rush for it to happen and also showing that the 7 days of celebration and feasting would not be going ahead. This was where we saw the king black out, fall to the floor, and his crown fall off of his head. I thought the crown falling off was an interesting decision to include, as I feel it could potentially mean that the king's reign is slowly coming to an end, and his condition has reached a point of no return, along with him now having no control over the actions of his family. I don't think that he's dead, but he's not far from it. He passed out, he was disorientated at points, his whole arm was covered with lesions, and he's now lying on the floor in front of the Iron Throne. It's a powerful image, so the peace that he's managed to keep is coming to an end. Rhaenyra and Laenor's faces and expressions showed how much they didn't actually want to wed each other, and the mood and tone for the approach at the start of the episode was turned on its head, showing that it was never going to be as simple as they originally planned. I thought this episode was a really good one. It was a slow burner but with good pacing that erupted at the end. We're seeing the king's lack of control being personified by his disease taking over, and the gradual unraveling of his family is what's going to cause an all-out war in the coming years. The Greens and the Blacks are soon to be against each other, and with Alicent now aware of the lying, deceitful behaviour of Rhaenyra, I don't think she's going to be holding back anymore, especially considering it made her turn against her father. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to be coming next. So, there you have it, House of the Dragon Episode 5, Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos on House of the Dragon, such as Endings Explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of episode 5? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.